One of the most popular Pokemon challenge formats is the Ironmon. Quite simply, it's how a lot of us might have played when we were kids, taking our starter and mashing them against every fight in the game all on their own. If they faint, it's right back to the beginning of the game, even if most of the time it probably wasn't that long ago. What if I told you, in the side series known for its party dynamics and close bond with your partner Pokemon, you could forego all that and take on the hardest challenge all alone? Enter the Destiny Tower, the hardest dungeon in all of Mystery Dungeon. What makes it so hard? Well, for starters, just like the classic Ironmon experience, you enter alone with no partner or recruits along the way to speak of. On top of that, even though this is a dungeon you unlock in the post-game after you've probably worked up quite a chunk of experience, moves, and items, you can't enter with any of them. You enter at level 1, no backup resources, no TM moves, no money, no brain, no nothing. Whatever strength you hope to accrue, you're doing it up the 99 floors of Destiny Tower. Oh, and it's also rigged to explode. Using Mystery Dungeon's Sky Temple randomizer, so close, put 2 and 2 together and we get, well, a failing grade math given our solution, but also the closest thing to a roguelike Mystery Dungeon itself can offer. In true Ironmon fashion, I randomize what Pokemon can appear, the moves they can learn through level up, their abilities, and their stats, but their typing and other traits stayed the same. This means I can start with anything, from a Cresselia to usually a lot worse than a Cresselia. Since you usually can pick from a lot of options at the start of the game, I went with whatever the personality quiz gave me. Hey, some of these questions don't look stock, rather than peering through them and picking the best one. I'm gonna sneeze. Looks can be deceiving after all, and that mighty— oh my god, this is what my voice turns into when I sneeze? Hang on. Looks can be deceiving after all, and that mighty Luxray might be underwhelming. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at my very first run to get an idea of what we're working with. Handle the personality quiz and see— yikes. Oh god. So, Pokemon learnsets are randomized, meaning this Beldum won't only have Takedown, but whatever move she gets will also be the only one she has until floor 99. So, what are we working with? Oh... yeah, this might not be so easy. Still, Beldum itself isn't a bad pick. She still has some great stats to work with, and a couple of abilities that actually have some nice safety and utility. Oh, right, Pokemon have 2 abilities in this randomizer. Sometimes it means you get a bunch of electric type with Volt Absorb and Static, like I did in the Platinum Kaizo Goat LeBron. I did go out on my own terms. Anyway, even without a lot of tools to work with, String Shot means we can effectively get 2 actions for every one that our opponent does, including backpedaling and forcing them to close the distance and weaving in an attack of our own. With that simple strategy, Beldum was able to traverse the cosmos way further than most runs would get. Yep, just throwing rocks. Somehow, shooting string and awkward bashes gotten Beldum all the way up to level 9. Considering the average, we'll take it. Oh yeah, a fun part of this randomizer is that it randomizes all the text of Pokemon names as well, so Graveler rocks from the game can be, any other Pokemon. Unfortunately, such a basic strategy can only get so far. On floor 8, a Banette roams through the wall, something all Ghost-type Pokemon can do, and speeds itself up with Rock Polish. Our one advantage in speed control immediately nullified. On top of that, it even has Ember, one of Beldum's few weaknesses. Before long, our run burns up, but it was still a great introduction to this challenge that definitely didn't set any false expectations for what a standard run could look like. To follow up making the best of a bad situation, it's only fitting that my team includes one of the strongest Pokemon of all time. Heck, of time. Of course, run number 2 has me adventuring as the god of time Dialga. His partner Bidoof, with an upset stomach. Hey, say what you will, it still made it further than most of my runs. Yes, though 99.9% of runs are fated to die, some are more fated to die than others. Take run number 6. Unfortunately, Cresselia experienced the true power of friendship. One step away from her starting position, she encounters a Shroomish with the pipes of an angel. Song after song, they put Cresselia to sleep, wasting a lot of both of our times. Cresselia's only attacking move is Petal Dance, which in this game is a multi-hit move that always confuses the user when it's over. Multi-hit moves are incredibly strong, even hitting resistance, so despite the downside of striking in random directions, we'll get through eventually. Unfortunately for us, Shroomish wasting our time was its goal, as one of its friends soon enters the scene. Crabby. On the hit fated to take out Shroomish, Crabby takes the blow and keeps it alive long enough to sing us one last time. Crabby gets into position and uses the strategy from run number 1 against us, slowing us so it can attack on our off turns. Yes, nobody is safe and even legends can fall, a mere step from where they started. At least it's not the only one to take that fate, like this Mudkip on run number 17 that had Illuminate to make more enemies, Hustle to miss all of its attacks, and a male Combi to utterly humiliate it. And no, strangely enough, this is not the only run that died to a male Combi. Hi again, IBS Bidoof. Okay, right, so even a Kingdra that seems okay enough can get two-shot by an invisible wormhole, but not all runs died quite so early. Like, once, after desperately fighting my way to the exit stairs as a little Ralt, we safely ascended to floor 2. I never said anything about floor 3 though. This is a monster house. A flood of enemies enter the room and they pretty much always spell immediate defeat when they happen. Dealing with these is difficult even in the main game where you've probably taken an item or two to deal with them, or got it, at least have a reviver seed to pick yourself up. What's that? Oh, reviver seeds don't spawn in Destiny Tower? Why would they? Hell's still only 33 degrees. So yeah, doomed run, especially on floor 2. What situation could be worse to encounter that? I guessed level 1 on floor 1 with something that immediately burns me with a fire move and 3 healers that cast Morning Sun, a recovery move that targets every enemy in the room to negate any pitiful damage I deal. That's where, okay, yeah, you got me. Maybe I should explain my strategy for these runs, since just showing things like a Kingdra getting sniped by an invisible wormhole and saying random hard is about as interesting as flipping a coin and saying getting tails is tricky. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I may have put in 30 runs to this challenge, but I still had over a dozen runs failed on floor 1. In spite of that, I stuck around there and tried to grind before moving on. Having a few levels makes a lot of difference and is usually incredibly valuable. I say usually because, well, sometimes the greed kicks in and you end up taking on one too many fights for XP only to, well, yeah, what do you know. I also say usually because after the most insane floor 1 that I survived, fate had other plans. To even get to that point, I experienced the first part of a trifecta of runs, this one titled Holy Spirits. It'll make sense later. Celebi enters a large room with good stats and even some usable moves. Unfortunately, from every corner in one of the many connected hallways, Spiritombs come pouring. These Spiritombs have the move Draco Meteor, a move that targets from anywhere in the room. Normally these moves are already insanely strong and threatening in the base game, so I duck into a side room to take shelter. Celebi's strongest offensive option is Focus Punch, and I promise it's more useful than in the games. It still takes 2 actions for it to come out, but considering one of those actions can be a Pokemon approaching, it gets more value than you think. Still, all the grinding in the world doesn't do anything if we can't step outside this hallway, so eventually we have to bait the Spiritombs close enough to take them on. It's a hard battle, but with enough willpower... Right, of course they'd explode too. Fun fact, Pokemon dying by any method other than direct damage from you don't give experience. This includes recoil, status damage, struggling, and of course, the bomb strapped to their chest. What makes this worse is that each explosion also makes an even larger radius for Draco Meteor to hit. All this excessive baiting and hard-fought trench warfare eventually leads to me searching for the stairs with barely any PP to spare. Regardless, battered and bruised, we make our way to floor 2 at a whopping level 8. That's quite a bit ahead, and we even get to use our new strength on the Cloister, something weak to our Focus Punch. Just need one action between using the move and letting it rip before... So that's also why I said usually earlier. My own strength killed me, since Mirror Move is Mystery Dungeon's equivalent of a no-you reverse card. At least that run got off the ground floor, unlike a trio of water starters that each had stats not even enough to make a phone number and a Piplup that got ominous wind boosted about a step away from spawn. Not all runs were as much of a wash though. Another run utilized the strength of a 2-turn move to get far with a Lairon using Sky Attack. His starting defenses were crazy, to the point where hardly anything ever did damage to him. The most tragic thing in this run was a wild Pokemon eating a Joy Seed off the ground, one of the strongest items in Destiny Tower that immediately raises your level. That sucks, but at least we can pick and choose our battles and walk away from the things that aren't worth our time. I'll be so... Okay. Holy hell, frustration in return deal way too much damage. This damage was enough to take out a Hitmonlee over level for floor 1 as well. There are also some moves that just deal a set amount of damage, or, in Present's case, a few different set amounts are possible, including 38 to a 9 HP Shellos. I got a surprising abundance of water Pokemon now that I'm looking back through my catalog. Sure, we've seen some of the lower echelon, like this Vaporeon with Rough Skin and Shed Skin, stop writing your comment, whose first and only opponent only knew Dark Void. So whenever she woke up, she'd immediately get put back to sleep after one action. That's not so bad, she'll eventually cut through. What is bad is the fact that if Shed Skin procs, it takes your turn to wake you up like we're back in Gen 1. So rather than even getting an action in between sleeps, Vaporeon uses all of her energy to stand up before settling back in for a nap. Not to mention the thing casting it even had PP Saver to make this last way too long. Repeat until struggle. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I need to tell you about another of my incredible trio of runs. This one following Sea King, the Sun. Caesar. Let's start from square one. Caesar started off with some pretty good stats right off the bat. Decent bulk, good offense, defenses, not bad health. Seriously, Caesar's already had a lot going for it, including the weather itself. Now, normally a water type with drought, it's not so great, especially when we actually get a stab move to take advantage of it in Aqua Tail. However, it's passable whenever that Aqua Tail hits twice. His first ability was Drought, his second was Chlorophyll. In the main series, it increases your speed in the sun. How does that translate to Mystery Dungeon? Yeah, sure, make Barrage hit upwards of 10 times. Why couldn't a fish Karate Chop, and twice? Hell, make the basic attack swing twice too. Everything worked together to make Caesar's one of my strongest runs I attempted. Dangerous situations still arose, like when I got hyper beamed and then stepped on a spike trap to put me in critical HP, but that was hardly the scariest thing to happen this run. A Smoochum, yeah, of all things, threatened to end the run, but it thankfully lacked the range to chase us over a patch of water, since only water and levitating Pokemon can cross gaps like that. It still wanted to square up, so Caesar's Mach punched it from a distance and was able to hold out. There were a myriad of other problems that came up, but one prevalent in most runs that got far was hunger. To keep you from waiting in place and recovering HP as much as you wanted, as well as always pushing you forward, Mystery Dungeon forces your party to eat. Of course, in Destiny Tower, whether or not the game decides to grace you with a life-saving apple is completely up to chance. To that end, we're forced to subsist off Pecha berries and other consumables, which only give a fraction of the sustenance foods designed for it would. Uh-oh, were you relaxed for a second? Here's a Maripa Seed Flare! Now come on, lock back in, there's still nearly 90 floors to go! Another important resource to manage throughout is PP. Thankfully, Chlorophyll basically gives you twice the value for the same cost, meaning we can push our moves to last even— oh, son of a bitch. We've seen the explosion traps and others that can damage you, but there are a number of other traps throughout the game. Warp tiles to send you somewhere random on the map, grime tiles to make your food significantly worse, and even a couple new traps unique to Destiny Tower, like the Random Trap. It presumably does something random, but I always rolled nothing. Of course, one of these traps is a PP down trap, making you lose critical resources and bring the cravings of max elixirs to the forefront of our mind. Floor 11 satiated at least a few cravings though, since it was utterly packed to bursting with items to pick up this run. Citrus berries, orbs, the works. Sure, there are still dangers like a Xatu with Leaf Storm that really wants us dead, and a myriad of bombs planted throughout the tower, but Chlorophyll ends pretty much every fight we start. Hopefully. By floor 15, my level has fallen off a little. Preferably, you want to be around the level of the floor you're on, but I was trailing hard and couldn't catch up. On top of that, something in this gigantic room is able to cast Heat Wave, another attack that hits anywhere in the room. I tried to use everything I had. An Evasion Orb to make those attacks hit less often, Confusion Orbs to make things go loopy and hit less frequently. I even figured out it was Executors and hunted them down, but— are you shitting me? Unfortunately, I lived by the Chlorophyll Mach punches, so I died by the Chlorophyll Mach punches. 15 floors in, despite my best efforts, my own tactics brought down the sun.
Oh, man.
And then Caesar got barraged while sleeping. Yep, it's still randomized Ironmon. Here's a Walrein getting head smashed, a Machoke summoning multiple enemies with range attacks, and a Lombre doubling their progress and dying on floor 2. One experience short of leveling up. To level 2. Yeah, the RNG sometimes doesn't let up. Trying everything to prepare for the later floors only to perish early is always frustrating. Like when I got a Banette with some killer stats and even got a defense scarf. An equipable that just gives a flat 8 defense points and makes you that much bulkier. Of course, all the physical bulk in the world will do nothing against a Torkoal in the sun clicking Magnus. Or losing a Venomoth to a Ghost with extreme speed at the walls. Truly, what the hell was the counterplay here? For every, like, 5 or 6 dog shit runs, you get one good one. Like this Weezing, who you really shouldn't think about the fact I only have footage up to floor 2 of, with some insane offensive stats and great moves to work with. But, of course, even your high rolls can low roll, like when Weezing got paralyzed, something that completely disables actions, and cringed, like flinching in the base game, from Thunderfang after missing multiple hits of Bullet Seed. However, for every, like, 2 or 3 good runs, you get one of the legendary trio. We had the Holy Spirits, we had the Sun, so meet the father. Or the mother. It was a girl. I alternated genders between Mother Mantine. Anyway, if Caesar's worked with most of what it had to go so far, Mother Mantine worked with 100% of her kit. Let's start with the stat line again. Considering some runs had welfare approval, having even one of Mantine's incredible stats would make them leagues better. At level 1, Mother Mantine had 45 HP, 16 defense, and 20 special defense, making sure she could withstand just about anything. On top of that, her offenses were 18-18, so any move would hit hard. She even had 2 stab attacking moves, the high PP Peck and the high damage Pluck, to cover both options when basic attacks weren't good enough. If that didn't give her enough survivability, she eventually learned Recover. Top off the last move slot with another solid high PP PP move and Stomp, and you've got the makings of a legend. I'll refrain from mentioning her abilities until they're relevant, but just know I was excited to see them. As if I was worried about taking damage to begin with, Floor 1 even had a dodgy scarf. As in, it let us evade attacks. Good dodgy, not, bad. So with all those factors in our favor, it should come as no surprise that I spent as long as possible grinding on Floor 1 to make our efforts later in the dungeon go smoother. I left Floor 1 all the way at level 9. It's probably for the best I did, as I triggered another one of the traps unique to Destiny Tower, a grudge trap. These ones are effectively the same as a lure trap, except that the Pokemon it summons are under the grudge status effect, which functions similarly to how it does in the main series. Basically, if you defeat a Pokemon under this condition, the move you use to do so will lose all its PP. It's pretty brutal in these endurance runs, and I can see why they put them in the tower as an added challenge. Alongside this and PP down traps, it really felt like this couple of floors were out to get me. That is, until I found a couple of happy seeds. No, not cannabis. Joy seeds are an insanely powerful consumable. That wild Pokemon can just eat off the ground, by the way. That's effectively a rare candy. Hey, I run Nuzlocke consistently. I love those things. Yet, despite this huge power increase, I opted to hold on to them for a bit longer. Levels in this game are exponential in terms of how much experience you need, so waiting to utilize them whenever the XP is a bit more sparse feels like the optimal play to make. Besides, even on Floor 4, we're hitting hard, so Floor 5 really can't be all that much. Oh my god. The death knell tolls. You know what? This run is too good. I'm not letting Mother Mantine go down without a fight. I'm taking as many of you motherfuckers down with me as I can. Turn this shit off, we're playing her theme. Immediately she gets surrounded, but we're still over double this floor's level. With some careful play, I know she can do it. First things first, to get through a situation like this, we need to assess what we have. The exit's too far away to get out without fighting through some of the ops. Our priority is the Vigoroths on the floor, since they have Rock Blast, a multi-hit move Mother Mantine is weak to. We can leave up the Porygons, since it looks like all they have is Superpower, a move she resists that even lowers their stats. I opted to use my Max Elixir early, since I figured, yeah, if I'm getting through this, it's by spending as much healing as possible and getting back my syntheses. On top of it, we have another thing keeping the wind in our sails, even as the world burns. One of Mantine's starting abilities was Guts, which boosts our damage output when under a status condition, like the classic Burn or even Taunt in this game. Even with Burn and Sandstorm whittling us down, the Storm helps to chip the 15 plus Pokemon in the room as well. So we just have to grin and bear it, even with weakening our syntheses. Of course, even after the Vigoroths, who also have Endeavor, are dealt with, Poliwrath comes by with Rock too. If even one of those hits me, it could Death Spiral into Oblivion, since it'll lower our speed as well. Get them out of here, kill the Big B, kill the Crawdons down to just the Quilava surrounding us. Things are daunting, and for some reason everything has a rock move on this floor, but we're getting there. Dude, this box is getting passed around more than my exes. Surrounded by bodies, Mother Mantine takes out the wall of Porygons that, honestly, probably made this encounter doable by holding back the tide of actual threats. Holy shit. On top of it all, a goddamn little big-on freak tries to end it all with Bullet Seed. Nah, I know when a battle's not worth fighting. Time to book it. Starvation looms, so we spend the next few floors recovering and trying to scrounge for any food. Eventually, we hit level 12 and finally decide to pop our Joy Seeds. Any later feels like a gamble to try and grind for, especially since we're already needing to dodge Thunders. I don't have much to say about Floor 7 other than this music is dog shit. And it's where I start to starve, I guess. Thankfully, on the next few floors, we find much better music and some food, managing to make it all the way to floor 11. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Nope, not dealing with another. You ever seen a Pouncer before? Woohoo! Mother Mantine somehow got into a bar fight in the next floor, drunken and dazed as she took hits from all the way across the store. The barkeep, of course, did nothing, even as they affected space and time to agility everything in the room. Fun! Eventually, our resources started to dwindle. The constant fights mean our PP is getting dire, with all of our syntheses evaporated. There's also still bombs planted throughout the tower, just in case you forgot about those. Unfortunately, throughout the increasing floors, a chill wind comes in. Crawdon, for all its skills and abilities, also has a move that drops the temperature sub-zero. Sheer cold.
I thought it's sturdy! Sturdy! Sturdy!
Early generation Sturdy, baby. That's right, rather than functioning like a focus dash, Sturdy meant you survived one-hit KO moves. Even as we make it to the highest reaches of the tower yet, fate had other plans in store for us. What started as a Poochyena with Woodhammer led to the situation only worsening. A Makuhita sped itself up, waiting for me to cross a gap and try its hand. Rather than push that, I decided to simply wait for it to slow down, only for it to somehow fire a zap cannon over the abyss and hit me. I couldn't wait there any longer, and any movement I did would give it time to reposition and fire again with its speed. So I had one move. Hedge my bets on my dodgy band and zap cannon's low accuracy while making a beeline for the stairs. As luck would have it, this Makuhita had one of the few options that could bring my strategy low.
What the
Mystery Dungeon is one of my favorite games of all time thanks to the memories I have with it. Yet, most of those memories came from story moments which I dare not spoil here. I've always loved the gameplay, but I often think of the tears shed rather than the battles won. Even as the years pass, I doubt I'll forget Mother Mantine's heroic stand on floor 5 of Destiny Tower. With this and Mantine's presence in the full series, I think I've genuinely found a Pokemon to go into my favorites. Ah, to hell with it. What's one more run for run number 30? A bad one, where I cosplayed a reverse Team Tasty member that only knew Splash. You want to know the worst part? This did better than literally half my runs. Thanks for watching. I had a great time trying out this challenge. Special shout out to ODI Seth, or Odirit Seth. Her videos popped up in my recommended where she's doing an attempt at this challenge every single day. If you want to see a slew of full runs rather than just my edited moments, go subscribe. Anyway, have a lovely rest of your day. Toodles!